Welcome to the daily reflection for Thursday, October 23rd. The responsorial psalm for today's daily mass comes to us from Psalm number 1. It reads, Blessed the man who follows not the counsel of the wicked, nor walks in the way of sinners, nor sits in the company of the insolent, but delights in the law of the Lord, and meditates on his law day and night. He is like a tree planted near running water, that yields its fruit in due season, and whose leaves never fade. Whatever he does prospers. Not so the wicked, not so. They are like chaff which the wind drives away. For the Lord watches over the way of the just, but the way of the wicked vanishes. Psalm 1 serves as an introduction to the entire book of Psalms, setting a foundational theme that says that there's two distinct paths of life: the way of the righteous, the way of holiness, the way of faithfulness, and the contrary path is the way of wickedness, the way of sinfulness, the way of sometimes participating in evil or the absence of goodness. And as we know, there's consequences that flow in this world from walking the path of righteousness or walking the path of sinfulness. And we also know that there's eternal ramifications for which of these paths we choose in our lives. So again, Psalm number 1 is important for us to meditate on as a way to understand all the rest of the 149 Psalms, but also for us just to meditate on what it means to be a faithful person. So the psalm begins with, Blessed the man who follows not the counsel of the wicked, nor walks in the way of sinners, nor sits in the company of the insolent. So first and foremost, we have to avoid people that lead us into sin. And sometimes this also means that we have to avoid thought that leads us into sin. That's why our education in the faith is so incredibly important, that we never stop learning. And by the way, sometimes we really have to work hard to identify, are there some thoughts, some things in our culture that run contrary to what we believe in our lives? So again, we have to avoid certain people, but also we have to avoid certain ideas that, again, pull us away from the Lord, pull us away from a path of righteousness. And furthermore, yes, at times it's hard to discern these realities, but in this contemporary age, we have lots of great resources and other guides to help us to navigate these things. So it is easier now than ever to figure out what is the truth, what is going on in situations, and how can we truly be people that walk the path of righteousness, the path of holiness, even though there's plenty of things that pull us away from these realities. And then why is it important to walk the path of righteousness? Well, because that's how we yield fruit for the kingdom. As a tree planted near running water, faithfulness and growth of grace that comes from walking the path of righteousness, from being holy, just blesses our lives. Not only can we serve God, but we'll serve others. And I know for many of us, it doesn't seem like we're doing enough, but I would also say as long as there's continual growth, the Lord will help us to go more and more down the path of righteousness, of holiness. He will bless the work of our hands, but again, we just have to stay close to Him, and we have to make sure that we don't do anything that jeopardizes that relationship. And I know also too, sometimes we get hung up on the fact that, well, what about that evil person? What about this problem that's at hand in the world? Well, as the final verses of the psalm tell us, those evil, sinful actions will eventually be taken care of, like chaff that the wind blows away. Yes, I know for many of us, these realities weigh very heavy on our hearts and minds, but again, they will pass away. They are not what's most important. What's most important is the victory won by Jesus Christ. And again, if we can grow our relationship with Him, we will be given grace upon grace. As I said, he will bless the work of our hands, and we can produce an abundant harvest for the kingdom of God. So, yes, there is two choices. We're either growing in holiness or we're growing in sinfulness. That is the nature of the spiritual life. But also, too, just know that, again, if we do think some things need to be changed, God's grace is there with us. We just have to make that choice. And again, by not following the people that will pull us away from the Lord, but really running towards the Lord, running towards the sacraments, drawing close to him in prayer, so that, again, he can give us every grace we need in our lives. Thanks for listening, and have a blessed day.